As has been announced, you've heard that this is going to be my final week with all of you as guest rabbi here at Beth Torah. And I wanted to say that it's been such a beautiful gift to have spent this time with you all. I've so enjoyed getting to meet and connect with so many of you here. And I know that I've learned a lot from you, from Beth Torah. I hope that perhaps you've learned some things from me as well. It was special and will remain dear to me that I got to spend my first Shabbat as a fresh rabbi with you here at Beth Torah back in January. And I will always remember with much fondness the warm welcome that I've received here. That's going to stay with me in my continued rabbinic work. And this isn't to say goodbye, because I'll still be in the city, and I hope that there will be more opportunities for collaboration and connection. At least Chazan Steve and I both said that we'd like that to happen. So good chance, good chance. This week's Parsha begins with a narrative of transition as well, although perhaps a difficult and tragic one. It's the narrative, as I mentioned, of the scouts or the spies who Moses sends out to check out the promised land, which in the narrative of the Torah, our ancestors actually reach quite quickly after receiving the Torah on Mount Sinai. It's only after failure here in this story with the spies that our ancestors are fated for wandering for 40 years in the desert, 1 year for each day that the spies were out on their mission. The 12 spies, one for each of the tribes, uncover a difficult and challenging situation lying ahead for the people of Israel. There are giants in the land. There are strong cities, unfriendly nations. It's a tough spot with multiple fronts of unideal challenge. You might notice a resonance with the tough spot that we are currently in, nationally, and maybe also personally. I think the Torah stories are perennially relevant and meaningful on multiple levels. Maybe we feel like we're balancing on a narrow bridge. 10 of the 12 spies return with a discouraging report. They tell the people all the bad things. But 2, Joshua and Caleb, encourage the people not to fear. Alo na'aleh, Caleb says. We can go up. We can do it. We can raise ourselves up. But it's too late. Fear has become contagious. The people cry out. They want to return to Egypt, preferring the familiar constraints of Mitzrayim to the unknown conflicts that lay ahead. Our ancestors won't be calmed down. Divine anger flares up against the people for their lack of faith. Moses needs to, like a good friend, needs to go to God and calm God down and remind God of God's essential qualities, that God is erech apayim, patient. As I've explained here before, those words literally mean long-nostriled. Right? I feel like this is a good Jewish description for patience. My friend Haley just told me that she's doing a project of casting people's noses, especially Jews. So if you want to get your nose casted and do an interview about how Jews feel about our noses, I can connect you with my friend Haley. But I think that really the length of our nostrils is about taking a deep breath, right, and feeling the depth of our breath. So maybe you'll join me in taking a moment of erech apayim, of a deep breath through our noses together. Let's try it. One more, erech apayim. Maybe you can notice if that shifted anything for you in your body or in your heart. Maybe it shifted something for God in the story. Moses reminds God that God is not only Erech Apayim, but also Rav Chesed, patient and full of kindness. Chesed, kindness. If there's one takeaway from my time with you all these past number of months, I hope it will be that you remember that Rabbi Aaron spoke to us about chesed, talked to us about kindness, because I really believe that that's the central thing that we ought to be taking from our tradition always, especially at difficult times like this time, to find chesed, kindness for ourselves, kindness for our close connections, for our family, kindness for our community, kindness for strangers that we don't know yet. Fear makes it hard to be in this mode of chesed, of that kind of connection. Right? In the story, it makes our ancestors want to look backwards, want to return to Egypt. Chesed, kindness, helps holiness move through us and helps move us forward. If you'll indulge a brief aside, I want to let you know that no AI was used in the writing of any of my Divrei Torah here. But I am interested and curious about the intersection of religion and technology. So I fed all of my guest rabbi Divrei Torah that I've done here at Beth Torah into Google Notebook LM language model, which read them all and gave a succinct and graceful summary, I think, of what I've shared here. And because I like it, I'll read it to you. It said about all the Divrei Torah, these sources connect biblical narratives and rabbinic teachings to contemporary life, exploring themes such as holiness, patterns in time, personal transformation, self-acceptance, and the nature of faith and human connection amidst challenges. These texts, the Divrei Torah, emphasize the importance of kindness, chesed, there it is, the number one emphasis, attentive presence, and a willingness to confront internal struggles as pathways to deeper understanding and spiritual growth. I think it's a pretty good job from the AI summary. So if any of that piqued your interest, or if you missed the sermon here or there, or want to refresh, I'd be happy to share the link that has all of the Dvar Torahs and the summary with anyone who would like. And if you're interested in thinking more about religion and technology, I'd highly recommend Toronto native David Zvi Kalman's amazing podcast called Belief in the Future, which has some great episodes about the interactions between religion and technology, but really has two amazing episodes about people sneaking tape recorders into synagogues on Shabbat to preserve cantorial traditions that would otherwise have been lost post-Holocaust. They're amazing stories with lots of tension and hope. Check it out. Okay, that's the end of my aside. Back to the Parsha, which ends, as we heard, with the mitzvah of tzitzit, which hints back at the story of the spies. The language that we read in the paragraph of tzitzit says, "Velo taturu acharei levavchem ve'acharei einechem." Don't go out after your hearts and your eyes. Rashi points out that this root, taturu, is the same root that's used to describe the spies' return, mitur haaretz, from searching out the land. Tzitzit provides some ballast against the misdirection that happened with the spies, to help with the fear, the hopelessness, the despair that can pull us backwards. The tzitzit that we wear are often more noticeable for the knots, right? The spiritual macrame, which can be a little bit esoteric, right? That we have all these winding knots, and you're supposed to be able to count up the 7, 8, 11, and 13 windings, which have the same gematria, the same numerical value as Adonai Echad, right? A snippet that you might know from the end of the Shema. Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. The tzitzit help us remember that. But the Torah doesn't talk on such an esoteric level. It's a little bit more direct. It doesn't talk about the knots. It just says that tzitzit should have a petil techelet, a blue thread. Right? And so maybe not many of us do this beautiful mitzvah of having the blue thread on our tzitzit. Mark Teitel does. So you can check out his tzitzit. I think maybe some other people do here as well. My teacher, Rabbi Marcia Prager, explained to me, as she taught me how to tie tzitzit, that techelet, this blue color that the Torah specifies, is meant to be the shade of blue when, on a beautiful, clear day, you go look out at the ocean and you can't even see the horizon line because the blue of the ocean blends with the blue of the sky. That's the color blue that techelet is supposed to be. Right? And I think that stopping to remember the sea or the lake or the blue sky on a sunny day like today does something similar to taking a deep breath. Right? It might calm us, calm our system, our body, and our heart. Right? And you don't need to have the blue string to remember the techelet. You can have your invisible or imaginary techelet when you think about the sea or the sky or something that could bring some calmness. Right? And I also, right, just to point out, the blue on the tzitzit thread is what also inspired many talitot to have blue stripes, like mine does, which was then translated into the flag for the state of Israel. Right? And the blue on the state of Israel's flag is also connected to the same thing, right? Trying to help us slow down and regain perspective. It reminds us that Adonai Echad, that there is a kind, caring, unifying force in our world that wants us to be channels of goodness and kindness. Even when things seem tough and the path seems narrow, it reminds us, lo lefached, not to be scared. So I want to end with sharing a song with Chazan Steve, who has been such a pleasure to work with. Really, a highlight of my time here has been collaborating with you, Chazan Steve. So glad to bring you up for a song together. And we're going to introduce the words to a melody that Chazan Steve already peppered throughout the service. So the tune might sound familiar, but it's a newer tune for words that you might already recognize that I think would have really helped the spies and might help us in this narrow moment that we're in. They're from Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. Kol ha'olam kulo, gesher tzar me'od. The entire world is a narrow bridge. V'ha'ikar lo lefached klal. The important thing is, don't be afraid. In Rabbi Nachman's original wording, it wasn't lo lefached, it was lo lehitpached in the reflexive. Don't make yourself afraid. Right? Don't let fear spread contagious through the camp amongst ourselves. And as we sing about the narrow bridge, you can join us by humming or singing along. You can maybe imagine a bridge hanging amidst the bright blue sky on a clear day like today. Or you can just take some deep breaths and be here with us. The words are on the pages that are around.
Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od. Kol ha'olam hu gesher tzar. Kol ha'olam kulo גשר צר מאוד כל העולם הוא גשר והעיקר לא לפחד כלל לא לפחד והעיקר לא לפחד כלל לא לפחד. As I walk along this very narrow bridge, I will not be afraid, knowing you are with me. As I walk across this very narrow bridge, I will not fear, knowing you are near. והעיקר, לא לפחד כלל, לא לפחד. והעיקר, לא לפחד כלל,